Hey everyone, it's Brian. Now my husband, he's 49 and I'm a 45-year-old female. I've been married now for 23 years. I found out this year that he had been having an affair with a 23-year-old woman since 2020. His affair partner gave birth to twin boys in March. Now, obviously, we're going to be getting a divorce. We've been hashing things out, but it's been a lengthy process due to shared priorities and the need to involve an accountant since he used our shared account for his affair. Now, finally, things seem to be getting close to the end when both my husband and the woman he cheated with were killed in a car crash. By some miracle, the twin babies were not harmed, so now they're orphaned, and neither set of grandparents can take them in permanently. Now, my husband's parents are both in assisted living, and he has no siblings, and that the only aunt who could take them, she refuses. She's been child-free her whole life. Now, on the woman's side, I'm not sure of the full details, but her parents are also not able to be involved in long-term care, and the one sister she has lives overseas. Now, since we're still married and he hadn't updated his will, all his assets are set to pass to me and our two children. I'm not callous enough to leave those babies with nothing, so I agreed to let whoever becomes their legal guardian have the remaining balance in the shared account, which is about $25,000 in the savings. Now, the issue is no one wants to take them in. Now, my in-laws are pressuring me to take them in and raise them. The problem is I don't want to at all. I know I wouldn't love them the way they deserve, and I don't want to be that evil stepmother. I know a big part of me will always have some level of resentment towards them, and I'll probably favor my own children, and it's not the baby's fault. But I truly love my husband and thought we were happy before I found out about the affair. We have two daughters, 14 and 16. Now, obviously, we had our disagreements, but we never insulted each other. Then I found out about the affair, and he began calling me names and blaming me for his cheating. He became aggressive and even tried to kick me out of the house. It's my childhood home, which is not shared property for the record. Now, I'm also raising teenagers alone now. I don't have the energy to raise babies anymore. My daughters hate their baby brothers. I try to get them to spend time with their dad as we were divorcing, but they refused. Since all this came out because of the babies, there wasn't really a way to sugarcoat the situation, and they're also too old for that anyway. Now, most of my friends agree that it's not my place to care for those children, but my in-laws, the affair woman's parents, and my mother want me to raise them. I know my mom was just having grandkids fever, but it hurts not to have her support. I have to make a decision by next week, or the boys will go into foster care. Now, at the moment, they're temporarily placed with their maternal grandparents, and I feel horrible, but I'm very sure I can't take care of them. Would I be the a-hole if I refused to take them in? Well, there's some comments. No, you're not the a-hole. As infants, the babies will likely find adoptive parents quickly. Now, as far as your mother-in-law and father-in-law are concerned, they have no business expecting you to spend the next 2 decades raising your cheating spouse's children. As callous as it sounds, either place them for private adoption and your state allows it or public adoption, then get on raising your daughters and dealing with whatever grief you have regarding your husband's death. The baby should be put up for adoption, period. It would likely only take a matter of weeks as they're infants. Now, the grandparents could ask for an open adoption so they could still be in their lives. Any money you give them should be set aside in a trust they receive when they turn 25. Does anyone forget that you're a single mom with 2 kids and now they want you to add 2 more and toddlers at that? Tell them to go kick rocks. Well, this next story up, guys, is definitely one we need your help on. I'm Brian, and we're going to jump right into the story. I'm a 27-year-old female. My husband, his name's Peter. He's 29. We've been married for about 3 years. We have 1 child together, and I was pregnant with our second. I'm Western Canadian, while he's from Germany. We lived in Canada for a long time, but because of inflation, moving back to Germany seemed like a better option for us. We bought a nice house in Hanover, where Peter's from. Now, the day after our flight to Germany, we all visited Peter's family. This was the second time I've seen them. The first was our wedding. They greeted us and brought us inside the house, fussing over my son. We had dinner, and soon we left the house, wanting to settle into our new home. We visited Peter's family often for the next few months, but I started to realize that they would sometimes speak about me in German. They would make rude comments on my hair and makeup, question my fashion choices, and overall were just very unkind to me. They also said mean things about my pregnant belly, which I was already insecure about, so I ended up talking to my husband about this. I told him that I didn't like the way that they were treating me. I said that I hated how my every choice was judged. He told me that he would talk to his family. Now, the next time that we went to his parents' house, there were no more mean comments. For about 3 months, it was like nothing ever happened. Now, I gave birth to a perfect baby girl that we named Lilith. Peter's family was very upset when they heard the name. If you didn't know, Lilith means ghost or of the night. We didn't pick this name because of its meaning, but because it's a name that every girl in my family has had for many years. My middle name is Lilith, along with my mom, my grandma's, and even my great-grandma's. Now, for a while, I didn't visit my in-laws. I didn't want to hear them talk about how I shouldn't have named my daughter Lilith. Yesterday, we saw them again. It was my mother-in-law's birthday, and as soon as we showed up, things started to go badly. Everybody wanted to hold Lilith, which made my mother-in-law upset because people weren't paying attention to her and made me overwhelmed. I didn't want people holding her. I was going through a pretty bad postpartum depression, and it was still pretty early to see people. I let people look at her, but declined when anyone asked to hold her. During dining, I heard my sister-in-law talking to my mother-in-law in German. I heard her complaining about how she couldn't hold my baby. My sister-in-law even had the audacity to call me, and I quote, a fat, ugly, hokey addict. Now, I turned to my sister-in-law and my mother-in-law and toned them off in German. I basically said that I've always known what they've said about me, but calling me names was the last straw. I also mentioned now I have known German for about my whole life. The table instantly blew up. People were yelling at me because apparently it was my fault. I left with Peter and we haven't talked to them since, so am I the a-hole? This next story, guys, is a good one. This is Brian. Let's get right into this one. Now, I worked as a heavy equipment diesel mechanic. I played guitar in my 20s and I abused my hearing as a teen. I definitely had some hearing loss, but haven't done anything about it. And it's mostly a non-issue. I can hear people other than my significant other about 99% of the time. No, I just listen to the TV a couple of clicks louder than most people in our house. My biggest issue is with my wife. When she talks to me, she more or less talks at me, meaning she doesn't get my attention for eye contact, talks sideways so I can't see her mouth, doesn't direct her voice in my direction, and just speaks into a void rather than with me. You know, I've tried telling her many times that I can't hear her. I've asked her to speak in my direction, make eye contact, etc., or I can't understand her. This has been ongoing for years. Now she just gets upset with me. She talks to other people normally, meaning I can hear her talk to other plainly perfectly fine. When she talks to me, I have to repeatedly tell her I can't understand anything she's saying. I got tired of being made fun of and blamed completely for the issue. So now, when she speaks to me in this manner, I can't hear her. I just pretend to agree with her. Or if she laughs, I'll pretend to laugh. Now, this means our conversations have become really short. I just can't express how tired I am of having to tell one person who I spend more time with than anyone else that I can't hear them, only for them to say, like, gosh, you're such an old man, and do nothing to help and ignore any etiquette for polite conversation. The other day, she got upset with me because I was sitting on our petrol lawnmower while she was a good 30 feet away and our 4-year-old son was talking to me. Then got upset with me when I shut the lawnmower off and walked over to her, asked her what she wanted. When she replied that she was telling me something about our daughter did, and I asked her how she would expect me to be able to hear a single thing she is saying. Obviously annoyed, she became annoyed back. Now, I'm at a loss for what else to do than get a hearing aid and wear it all the time I'm around her, and just continue to pretend as though I can read her mind like she expects me to be able to. Hey guys, this next story up is a good one. This is Brian. Stick around for this one. My 26-year-old female sister, Ellie, and 36-year-old female as a 13-year-old son. My nephew, Tyler. Yesterday was my dad's birthday. I get the picture. It was me, Ellie, and our sister, our aunt and uncle, and our 3 cousins. The middle one of the three cousins, Grace, she's 32, has a daughter, Brooklyn, who's 12. Now, Tyler and Brooklyn were the only kids there. Brooklyn recently broke her ankle and needs crutches for a few weeks. The kids were mostly in the living room, whereas everyone else was in the kitchen and the dining area. Now, I didn't think to check on much because I thought 13 to 12 were old enough to know when not to do something super dangerous like break a window. Besides, the living room is pretty close to the kitchen. We heard something crash down the stairs, followed immediately by shouting. Everyone's first instinct was to rush into the room, and so we did. We saw Tyler and Brooklyn wrestling over one of the crutches on the couch. Well, Brooklyn was sitting on the couch and Tyler was standing behind the couch. If you can picture it, Brooklyn ended up falling backwards off the couch and she started crying. Turns out Tyler had thrown one of the crutches down the stairs into the basement, was trying also to get the other one thrown downstairs. After we made sure Brooklyn was not seriously hurt, she ended up being fine, by the way. Grace started asking Tyler things like, "What were you thinking? Why would you do that? What's the matter with you?" I wouldn't call it yelling, but her voice was definitely raised. Now, a few other people joined her, and Ellie immediately jumped in front of them like a soldier, saying no one is hurt, and he's just a kid. Oh, I thought that was ridiculous because, number one, although Brooklyn ended up being all right, she could have been hurt. And number two, a 13-year-old, really? A kid? That's a teenager who should know better. So I told her so. Just a kid is something used for kids aged 11 and below. And after that, that's not an excuse. Now, Ellie thought everyone overreacted, and she was pissed, especially at me. My God, really? And for anyone asking, I don't know why Taylor did that. Really, I don't. Maybe you thought it'd be funny or something, but since Ellie is so pissed off, I'm wondering if maybe that was a line not to be crossed, or maybe I'm overthinking it. I mean, come on, what the freak? Well, all right, guys, this is Brian, and this story is definitely one to stick around for. I'm a 32-year-old female. I have two kids, ages 5 and 7, and my sister, she's 34. She has 3 kids, ages 3, 6, and 8. We've always been close, and I often babysat our children when she and her husband needed a break. Last weekend, my sister dropped her kids off at my house for a few hours, which, is something we've done countless times before. While I was watching all 5 kids, my 7-year-old started acting up, so I put him in timeout. Now, my sister, she came back earlier than expected and saw this. Now, she immediately pulled me aside and said she doesn't believe in timeouts and that I was being too harsh on my child. She then went on to give me an unsolicited lecture on how I should handle discipline, saying I should use gentle parenting instead. I was taken back because I've never criticized her parenting methods, even though I didn't always agree with them. After she left, I felt really upset. Now, the next day, she asked if I could watch her kids again this weekend, and I said no. I told her that if she doesn't trust my judgment with my own kids, I don't feel comfortable being responsible for hers. She got really upset and accused me of overreacting. Now she's not speaking to me, and my parents think I should just let it go for the sake of family harmony. Now, I can't shake the feeling that she crossed a line, so am I the a-hole for refusing to babysit after she criticized my parenting? All right, so here's some advice from other people. So your sister laid out her perspective in child rearing by criticizing you as she did about how you discipline your kids. She was way out of line since nothing did was abusive to your children. Quite the opposite. Funny how though your reaction to her meddling is overreact went totally out the window as soon as she needed her kids watched again. Yeah, so she crossed the line when she talked to you about parenting like that, and then she has the nerve to ask you to babysit? Now, she should be at the very least apologizing to you before asking. The overreacting card is just a way of making herself feel better and to downplay your actions instead of admitting she was rude to you. So, what do you think?